Top 10 Ways Coronavirus Will Change Your Life Forever. Correspondence. History specialist Walter Scheidel once stated, was just at any point delivered in distress. Right now, COVID-19 is moving through the world and the worldwide economy has all the earmarks of being crumbling. This, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is one of those seasons of distress, a period when our lives are overturned and loaded up with vulnerability. Be that as it may, as an ever-increasing number of individuals change in accordance with life in isolate, we are beginning what's turning into a worldwide social examination. Thoughts that we just discussed in the prior years are being placed vigorously for a gigantic scope. This will be a troublesome time, but at the same time it's setting off to the flash of some fantastic changes. 10. Working from home before COVID-19. Just 7% of American specialists had the alternative to telecommute. That doesn't imply that 7% were telecommuting, it just implies that 93% of Americans were informed that it could never be an alternative. Today, telecommuting is a need. There are no hard insights on what number of individuals are working remotely around the globe. However, the organization Cisco has said that, in China, their video conferencing programming has been considering 22 to be as much traffic as it did before the flare-up. The world is occupied with a worldwide work-from-home test, and we're going to see direct exactly how feasible it is. There are now concentrates on this, and the outcomes are exceptionally positive. One found that individuals telecommuting have 16.8 more days' worth of efficiency. Those investigations have consistently been out there. However, in the event that businesses see the outcomes direct for themselves, there will be no denying that letting individuals keep telecommuting after the pandemic is over won't send them bankrupt. Furthermore, that could be inconceivable for our life fulfillment. The normal drive to work has expanded by 20 minutes over the previous decade, and specialists state that those 20 minutes influence work fulfillment as much as a 19% cut in pay. 9. Universal pay. A couple of months back, widespread fundamental pay appeared to be an unrealistic fantasy. Sending each individual in a nation a month-to-month check, regardless of whether they don't go to work, was beginning to manifest on the odd battlefield, yet in many nations, it didn't seem like anything we'd perceive at any point in the near future. Be that as it may, for the following not many months, it will be a reality. The United Kingdom has focused on paying 80% of its labourers compensations, while Denmark has offered to pay upward to 90%. Also, even the United States is anticipating sending a $1,200 check to pretty much every grown-up American. None of these plans are actually equivalent to all-inclusive essential pay, yet they're close. They're going to adequately be dry trials on how these arrangements truly influence society. It's too soon to state what the outcome will be. Finland attempted widespread fundamental salary in 2017 and 2018 and reasoned that it left individuals cheerful however jobless, which may be what we find in the remainder of the world also. In any case, somehow, these discussions will be much less hypothetical when the pandemic is finished. 8. Automation. One of the segments COVID-19 has hit the hardest is producing. Anybody working in a processing plant is an amazingly predicament. Working remotely isn't a choice when you work with your hands, yet for certain plants, nor is remaining at home. In any case, for purported lights-out processing plants that are worked altogether by robots, an infection isn't even an issue. Organizations that utilization more computerization are now showing improvement over those that depend on packing human specialists into a firmly stuffed plant. And organizations are beginning to take note. Kaja Robotics, for instance, has said that they've seen a 25% expansion in requests in the previous 30 days alone. We can anticipate that a ton of assembling organizations should go to computerization to endure, and a ton of different organizations, as well. China has just begun supplanting conveyance drivers with automatons, and they're revealing that they're quicker and more secure than human laborers. They've even explored different avenues regarding mechanical emergency clinics, where machines take your temperature, convey your suppers, and sanitize your space to shield people from coming into contact with somebody conveying a sickness. When this pandemic is finished, your activity could very well have been filled by a robot. 7 online learning schools are closing down in almost every nation that has seen a flare-up of COVID-19, and that is driving guardians and instructors into an entirely different period of training. For the following barely any months, internet learning will be the standard. Regardless of how well informed your instructor is, they will need to figure out how to make training advanced. In view of early responses, it's impossible that we'll see boundless selection of online instruction when this is finished. Input from instructors, up until now, has been all around negative. The serious issue is that web-based learning mixes detriments. Kids whose guardians don't have the opportunity to push them on their instruction fall further behind, while the individuals who can't bear the cost of web get to a totally barred. In any case, each instructor on the planet is getting an intensive lesson in 21st century learning. They're ensured to return with thoughts that will change how our children learn. In any event, for the children that return, a ton of guardians are going to self-teaching. And since self-taught kids normally score higher on state-administered tests than kids in government-funded schools, there's a decent possibility that a ton of those guardians will choose to stay with it. 6. The assent of large government. There are no libertarians in a pandemic, Meghan McCain has of late said. Regardless of whether that is something worth being thankful for or not is up to discuss, yet fortunate or unfortunate, there's a great deal of motivation to accept that it's actual. Around the globe, individuals have been grasping enormous government since the time COVID-19 started to spread. Communist strategies are being executed all around the globe, even in nations drove by moderate and libertarian pioneers. The US government is anticipating burning through $1 trillion battling COVID-19, while the United Kingdom's Boris Johnson has said that there's no roof to the amount they'll spend. Large government's making a rebound, and in certain spots, it's in truly outrageous ways. The Israeli government has begun utilizing its KIN's mobile phone area information to recognize everybody who has interacted with a contaminated patient. On the off chance that you've been close to them, you'll get a book advising you to isolate yourself right away. McCain's being hyperbolic, obviously. There are still libertarians, however their voices are being quieted. Furthermore, regardless of whether hands-off government returns style when this is finished, there will undoubtedly be a couple of bills passed that, before COVID-19, could never have endured. 5. Voting via mail on April 15, with a pandemic attacking their nation. The individuals of South Korea will need to arrange outside of stalls and cast their votes in the 2020 political race. It will be an enormous issue, and the nation hasn't generally had the opportunity to respond. Up until now, their answer is terrible. They will expect voters to wear veils and dispensable gloves, and they're going to check everybody's temperatures previously permitting them to enter. It will be a calamity. We can depend on the voter turnout being wretched, and it will be a reminder for the remainder of the world. It's particularly going to influence the United States, where primaries are as of now in progress and a government political race is planned for November. Americans will need to change their democratic principles this year, and we can anticipate that those progressions should be lasting. 2 of every 3 Americans as of now state they're stressed over Democratic face-to-face, and some are now battling for change. Texas Democrats have documented a claim for the option to cast a ballot via mail, while different states are urging individuals to only mail in their voting forms, which could be incredible for majority rules system. At the point when Utah presented casting a ballot via mail, they saw a 7% expansion in voter turnout. For the demise of independent companies, a ton of organizations are being hit hard at this moment, however no one as hard as bars and cafes. France, Spain, Italy, Germany and the United Kingdom are only a couple of nations that have closed down all bars and eateries, and, in nations that haven't commanded it, scarcely any individuals are deciding to go out for drinks. For the following hardly any months, these organizations and their representatives will be deprived of any income stream that doesn't originate from the legislature. A great deal of them won't be ready to endure it. J.P. Morgan predicts that the normal independent venture might have the option to endure 27 days of this before failing. That is going to change the essence of our reality, on the grounds that, while a ton of neighborhood bars won't endure, the huge organizations will drive forward. At the point when individuals get a craving to going out on the town once more, and when servers begin searching for work once more, the huge chains will even now be there. McDonald's will face the hardship, and that will reshape our reality. Presently, about half of Americans work for independent ventures. In any case, when this is finished, that rate will likely be a great deal lower. 3. The finish of dependence on China. COVID-19 couldn't possess come at a more awful energy for China. They were in a severe exchange war, and COVID-19 has exacerbated things a great deal. As of not long ago, the world has depended on China as its assembling center. They fabricate 20% of the world's products, more than some other nation on Earth, and they have a significantly greater job in human services. 90% of America's anti-infection agents originate from China. In any case, as China has gone under isolate and has battled to keep up its pace, it's become progressively clear that it is so hazardous to depend on a solitary area to supply the world. The world is battling with the deficiency of ventilators and face covers, and it's simply not achievable to depend on China to deal with it all alone, particularly when they've been probably the hardest nation hit. A few nations are as of now beginning to bring fabricating over into their own fringes, while others are looking at spreading out their assembling to a few better places. At the present time, we truly must choose between limited options. We will need to begin depending on different nations for assembling, and that is going to hurt China long after the pandemic is finished. 2. Free and widespread medicinal services. After the Spanish flu of 1918, nations around the globe, creator Laura Spinney says, grasped the idea of associated medication. It was one of the enduring effects of the last extraordinary worldwide pandemic. Individuals began to understand that the strength of the poor influenced everybody, and the principal conversations that would prompt widespread social insurance started. There are just a bunch of nations that don't have widespread medicinal services today, and one created country. However, this could be the second that drives the remainder of the world into free human services. 41% of Americans as of now state that they are bound to help all-inclusive human services in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, and arrangements appear to push that way, as well. The US has just promised to let individuals get tried for the coronavirus gratis, and a few lawmakers are pushing to make treatment free, too. On the off chance that treatment isn't made free before the pandemic's finished, we're certain to see more individuals requesting it. A few people have been getting back home with bills as high as $35,000 for treatment, and it is extremely unlikely that those individuals won't wind up requesting changes. Another political uprising. COVID-19 is hitting our well-being hard, however it's hitting our economy significantly harder, as indicated by examiners at J.P. Morgan Chase. There is no longer uncertainty. We currently imagine that the COVID-19 stun will deliver a worldwide downturn. Many individuals will lose their positions. That examiner predicts that 400,000 Americans will get jobless in the following barely any weeks alone. Furthermore, before this is finished, it could be much more terrible. Another investigator accepts that, before this over, 7.4 million individuals in the recreation and cordiality industry will be jobless. The poor will be hit hardest of all. While office laborers will be ready to work remotely from home, it'll for the most part be servers and distribution center specialists that endure this pandemic. That will be agonizing, yet as Sheedle stated, correspondence was just at any point delivered in distress. We will gain so much from this experience. And once we recognize what the genuine exercise of COVID-19 is, individuals will be requesting change. Specialists are as of now foreseeing an unrest. One that investigator Kathy O'Neill has portrayed as involve Wall Street 2.0. COVID-19 is going to scrutinize us, yet when that test is finished, we will have a superior comprehension of the breaks in our social orders. Furthermore, in case we're fortunate, our reality very well might end up a superior spot.